What if I told you that you could design and live the life that you want on your own terms? Would you do it? Would you take a leap into the unknown? Or would you settle for a life of limits, a life of safety but lacking true meaning? Zephan Moses Blacksburg here, and I'm on a journey to help you ignite your inner passions, let go of your fears, and get more out of life. Will you join me and make this year your year of purpose? Welcome to the Year of Purpose podcast. Hey everyone, Zephan Blacksburg back again with another episode of the Year of Purpose podcast. And today I'm joined by Dr. Pei Kang. Now, Dr. Pei is one half of the broadcast team behind the creation, development, and explosive growth of the Relaunch podcast. If you told Dr. Pei 13 years ago that she would be podcasting, speaking, coaching, and developing business systems full-time, she wouldn't have had a clue as to what you were talking about. Born in mainland China and academically trained as a dentist, she immigrated by herself to the U.S. in 1998. She worked full-time as a dentist for 10 years and owned her own practice for 8. She sold her practice in 2014 so she could concentrate fully on Relaunch and the growth opportunities for the business. Pei, thank you for joining me today on the Your Purpose podcast.
Well, thank you for the invitation, and I love the theme of your show. I'm so glad we get to connect through this podcast, and thank you.
Absolutely. You actually piqued my interest when I was reading your bio there because, you were born in China and moved here back in 1998. What ultimately prompted you to do that?
Well, I was in my dental school back then, and I was trying to decide, should I choose a hospital? Because that's when back then, because it's a communist country, and there's not so much a private business. And most of the doctors, when you graduate, you assigned to a hospital. So I was looking for that opportunity. And then I heard the other opportunities either go abroad to study, seek another opportunity. And I had, I applied for a place in Japan and applied for 3 schools in America. And going to Japan at the time was easier. And when I applied to come to the U.S., I was accepted by one of the schools, but my visa was rejected 3 times, actually twice. And then the third time I said, you know what? I'll try it one last time, and if it doesn't work, I'll just go to Japan. And sure enough, I walked to the window. She said, there you go. I'm like, seriously?
Because you tried the first 2 times and they said no, and then it was that easy on the 3rd try.
I know. I mean, it changed. There are things in our life, maybe a few things that could dramatically change the course of our life. And others is kind of slowly nudging you through your past. But that, I have to say, that day was one of the dramatic shifts.
And I think that's a perfect example of so many people that are on the border of finding success or what they really want to do is, they tried the first 2 times and it didn't work. And so many people give up before trying that 3rd time. And it's crazy to me to see that people don't keep trying because they're right there. They're right on the verge of figuring out what it is they want to do or where they want to go in life. And look, I mean, you were right on the verge of your dream and what you wanted to do and where you wanted to go. And it took that 3rd try to even get there. And it's crazy to me to think that some people don't even push for more.
Well, I agree with you. And look at you. Back then, when you started this video business, I bet there were moments that you feel like maybe this not going to work, right? Or was there a time like that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this was one of those things where I said, I'm going to quit my job. And I didn't really know what I was going to do. I knew what I was good at and I knew what I went to school for, but I wasn't sure what it was going to look like 6 months out from my first day in business for myself.
Yeah.
And there were plenty of times, especially in like the first 2 or 3 weeks, where the first day you're really excited, and then the second day you're kind of like, all right, where do my clients come from? And then the third day you're kind of like, oh my gosh, I just spent all this money on things and I don't know how I'm going to replenish that. So I was definitely in the same boat.
Yeah. What's interesting, can I share a story?
Yeah.
Just in that line where you talked about, one of the entrepreneurs, he's super. He's in Texas too. I absolutely love him. And Joel, my husband, says he's one of my business boyfriends, and I call him a mentor myself. Keith Cunningham, and he was giving a speech one day, and he said one of the number one problems of entrepreneurs is this shiny object syndrome, where you, let's say you stay at the line, the buffet line, and then you got lots of people in front of you, but after waiting for a little while, you're like, I want this line's not moving. Maybe I should jump to the next. And then he said, you perpetually stay in line rather than get to the food. So he said, pick a line and stay there. Because sometimes if you're passionate about doing certain business, it's not about and if you find someone that's already doing it successfully, then there's a way. Learn that how. And yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I saw a video about that one time, and it might have been him speaking, but it was all about how when we're in the line to check out at the grocery store, and it's always busy at the supermarket trying to check out. And I do this too, is I stand there, I've got 2 or 3 people in front of me, and I kind of look over and like, that line looks like it might move faster, and this line is moving slower, and you want to change lines to check out, but I think they even check this statistically that you are best to stay in the line that you're in. Like, statistically speaking, no other line is moving faster, because that the one time you do switch lines, that one is going to take longer than the one that you were in. And so I think you're absolutely right that so many of us just need to follow the path and just keep going. But let me ask you this, how do we stay motivated throughout that? Because, this shiny object might come by and then we get distracted and think that there's something better out there. How do we continue to talk to ourselves and have that little voice on our shoulder tell us keep going and keep pushing forward?
That's such a big question. I can tell you, number one, just understand there might be more days that you feel like this is not going to work than the days you feel it's going to work. And especially in the beginning. So first of all, I think just to understand that is a path a lot of people walk through. And so you don't feel like, gosh, if, because sometimes people have this misconception about, if I'm on the right path, I should feel peace, right? I should feel energized, passionate all the time. And if they don't feel that, they feel like they are on the wrong path, I think that's a myth. So I think, first of all, to understand that is a possibility. Not just a possibility, that's for sure it's going to happen. Second is, I heard this story, you possibly have too. There are 2 wolves, they fighting. And one is the good one, the other is the evil one. And then there's this young man asked the wise man, said, who's going to win? They both look strong. They both same size and everything. And the wise man said, the one you feed. There are days it's easier to listen to the voice and say, this is not going to work. Look at you. Who do you think you are? Who's going to listen to you? But then if you keep feeding that, then that voice going to be louder and louder.
What do you think is the biggest reason why most people either give up or don't reach their goal that they set out for themselves?
Wow. There could be many. I mean, one of them is what you mentioned earlier, not staying in line. But I think it's also the myth of thinking, let me just tell you a short story.
Yeah.
One of my patients the other day, a lady, she's in her 60s, and she and her husband run a business together ever since they got married in their 20s. And they have two daughters. They're both entrepreneurial. And I said, what do you think your daughter feel when they start their business? I mean, what about that? Don't they want some either work somewhere? Have that ever crossed their mind? And this lady said, well, yeah, but here's what's interesting. These two girls, they watched us go up and down. They watch what it really takes. There were months they were, not much profit, and there are months there are. And so they grew up knowing that's normal. And they also grew up knowing the freedom their parents could have by having a business. So I think obviously that's not available to a lot of people here. When in this generation we watch our parents have steady jobs, work somewhere for 30 years, get a gold watch when they retire, and living on the pension and Social Security. But just to know that there are, the other side of life. If you want that freedom, there are prices that come with it, and to understand what it takes that to walk through that journey.
Yeah. You brought up something interesting, and so I have another question for you. So many times we convince people that happiness kind of only comes when you work for yourself. We talk about entrepreneurship and how much freedom we can build through that. Do you think that we absolutely have to be an entrepreneur to be free and be happy, or do you think it's still possible to work a 9-to-5 or a corporate job and have your freedom?
You ask amazing questions. Frankly, freedom and happiness, to me, they are mindsets. I think we can be happy and feel free no matter where we are. I mean, if we talk about extreme situations, even if we are in a very not in this country, or in somewhere where the government has so much control, then there's still a sense of happiness or freedom you can have. So I don't think those two feelings are circumstantial. Did I say that word right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But we actually have a couple people on our show talk about after they try the entrepreneur journey, then they realize they like collaboration. They like to work in a team environment. So they, after trying their own ideas and got some expertise and met some great people, they start collaborating, working either for or together. So I think the freedom of happiness is very individual, and success, the definition of success is different from everybody, for everybody. And so maybe it's important for us all to define what that is for us first, and then pursue that. Because I think that is sometimes a hard concept, especially when we, if we grow up in public schools and then go to college, we taught kind of to compare with each other, to want what other people have, to have the same standard of success. But at a certain point in our life, we're going to have to find out what that is for us.
Yeah, and that happiness is something that's going to come from inside. It's not something outside, despite what people think. Far too many people are convinced that, oh, if I just make a little bit more money, I'll be happier, or, oh, if I could afford to something, I'll be happier. And I think that everyone has their own journey to happiness. And at the same time, though, I think that it's very easy if you just hit the reset button and say, tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm not going to be like I am today. And being able to have that power when you have a bad day, and to wake up the next day and say, here's what I'm going to do today and this is what it's going to be. I think it's huge, and so many people have trouble getting to that point because they feel so stuck or so lost.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah, so how do we get out of this place of being stuck?
Well, I think I was a poster child for feeling stuck a lot, because I always feel like something has to happen for me to be either happier or in a better work situation. Especially for us who are entrepreneurs who like to grow personally, we always feel like there's something out there and there's always a gap. And I think that's natural for us to reach for something we feel like is ultimate, that's where we should be. That's great. But to understand, there's this guy, let's see, what's his name? He was on our show. He plays drum for that Cher.
Oh, really?
Yeah, gosh, what's his name? He's working on a great book too. He was on our show and he said something very insightful. He said, life is a series of nows. So after that, I had a personal realization, and I'm actually reading the book Power of Nows. These two are totally separate, but just to realize at this moment, I'm doing the best I can do, be the best person I can be. I'm speaking to you, I'm understanding what your audience want, delivering what I have from my life experience, share whatever I know, understand, answering your question. That's the best I can do, and I should be happy with that.
Yeah.
And I think taking action a little at a time, focus on what I have now, what I can do now, that helped me to get unstuck.
Yeah. Is there anything that you do to bring yourself back to the present in case your mind starts to wander off in one direction or the other?
There are many ways, but I possibly you don't know. I teach yoga as well. Just to breathe, to like take a breath. Okay, what's the reality here? Is this all necessary? What's this big drama right now? Is there really a drama? Am I seeing things as, this? Because sometimes when I look at a goal or a project that's coming up, I make it bigger than it actually is, and then I feel like, gosh, from here to there, there's such a big gap, and then I start to feel sorry that I don't have all the capabilities to do, and then just get downhill from there. But instead, break it down into what I can do now, and take a breath and just start doing it.
That's really nice. It's interesting to hear what everyone does to stay present, or to at least just be in the moment, because my method has been far different from most other people.
Tell me, I'd like to learn.
I have a lot of trouble being still. My mind is always very hyperactive. So actually, right before I started the Year of Purpose podcast, I tried a float tank, an isolation chamber tank. And it was a very interesting experience. But I had trouble with it because I could only stay present for so long. So I found that my love for rowing and being on the water is actually where I'm the most present. They always have this saying of keep your head in the boat or stay in the boat. And they don't mean physically, they don't mean don't fall out of the boat. They mean, keep your head thinking on what you're doing. And the greatest part about rowing is that while you might be pushing your body to the limit, your mind is so quiet because you're focusing on just balancing the boat and staying on the water and doing the same motion over and over again. And I think on top of that, one of the best parts about it is that when you're rowing in these boats, you can only see where you've been. You're not actually facing the direction in which you're going. That's just how physics works because you're pulling the boat and it's going that way. But you can only see where you've been. You can't see where you're going. And that's one of the greatest lessons, is that you can only look at where you've gone. You can't look at what's coming up in the next 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 days, 30 years. And I think that's one of the best lessons that I take back with me after every time I'm out on the water. And that's why I go 3 times a week.
I love that. And that just shows everybody should find their own way of finding that now. We have different paths, and if your listener listening to this, just try something. Give maybe walking is your way, maybe dancing for some others, maybe climbing mountains for somebody else. And for me, sometimes patting my dog get me back to the present. Another thing that you mentioned about you can only see the past, which if you don't mind, I want to bring up one of my morning routine I absolutely love is I spend just a few minutes meditate on the great things I have done in the past that I'm proud of. Because if I can start a day appreciating myself, appreciating where I have been and where I am now, then it gives me more confidence to go on to take bigger tasks for the day. So just instead of looking forward, always look at what we don't have yet. Think about what we have done, what we already do have.
Yeah, it's a great way to start your day, and I think that's a great practice for everyone listening to include. Now let me ask you this though, because along with a lot of this hope for the future and great things to come comes a lot of fear. And fear is a big part of everyone's life. I always go out there and tell people that I'm not afraid of anything, but I'm sure there are some things I'm afraid of. I mean, I had a podcast episode where I talked about how I have a fear of roller coasters and I have a fear of needles, and those are like the 2 things that I absolutely hate. And so those are fears that I can get by, right? Like that's not something that I need to keep my life going on. But many people, when they're stuck, they continue to stay stuck because they're afraid of either A, doing something really amazing and what happens when they get there, or B, they're afraid of the bad things that could happen along the way.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest questions here, and I think that keep us stuck when we think about just fear itself. But one of the things I learned is this is part of the question we ask our experts here on our show too. We learned so much from them. Instead of thinking, especially for if you get on a stage, start speaking. Instead of thinking, "Gosh, I'm so scared. How can I conquer this fear?" instead of focusing on that, just to know that fear is here and fear could be our friend. Fear maybe it's just a way to show that we care. Maybe just a way to show, oh, I'm going to be in front of this local group. I'm going to run a presentation to share my expertise that is normal. I mean, if I'm not fearful, then maybe it's not normal. Then something's wrong with me because I care about these people. I care what value I deliver to them. But then once you understand fear is going to be there, the next thing is, guess what? We take action. We're going to start speaking anyways. And if we start to focus on, instead of what's in us, and to actually focus on the people, the impact we're going to make, that fear slowly is going to walk away. But to think fear ever, you're never going to have fear, that's impossible. But if we ask everyone this question, what would you do if you don't have fear? And just pause for a moment here. If you're listening to this podcast, seriously, what would you do if you don't have fear? And then if you have an answer right now in your heart, don't try to change it, because the next thing that's going to come toward you will be fear. Will be something like, oh, that will never happen. It's that ego start to question you. It's that voice from your past start to question you.
Yeah, and there's, along with that, a great line from Alan Watts. He was a great philosopher, and he said, what would you do if money were no object? So I would question you, what would you do if there was no fear and money wasn't a problem?
Yeah.
Because I think everyone's first fear that comes up, at least a lot of the time, is money and how they're going to be able to afford it.
Yeah. One thing, I mean, we all live in the real world here. Money and stability is something we try to hold on to, and especially if you just started a brand new family or about to start one. But one of the best, the most practical way, and is to start saving at least 10% of what you make, and then maybe save another 10%, invest in yourself, in books, in coaches. I mean, I hired a ton of coaches during my major transition in life, just because I was so fearful to really reach for something I really want. And I have to have somebody by me to encourage me, to keep me accountable.
Mm-hmm. And there's no greater motivator than paying a lot of money to a coach to become successful, because you know that you paid all this money to do it. And that's exactly what I did when I started my business. Was I paid $11,000 for a year-long coaching program, and I didn't have $11,000 in my bank account. And I knew that no matter what I did, I had to find a way to make that money back. And so it motivated me to do better and to make more and to build my business and to build a lifestyle that, allowed me the freedoms and things that I wanted. And another thing is that when I took 2 months to travel last year, I was tired of everything. I was stuck where everyone else is right now. And I thought I had it all. I had a business. I had a great bank account, and I had friends and I had family, and I didn't have happiness. And so that's when I decided to buy a one-way plane ticket, and I flew around the country for a full 29 straight days. And my biggest fear was coming back to no money and no clients and no business. And the funny part about it is, I had my laptop with me while I was on the road, and I did a little bit of work while I was gone. And I made the same amount of money in November that I made in October by booking video shoots for the following month. So I just scheduled out December while I was on the road. I just scheduled them a few weeks out in advance and said, hey, I'm not home right now, but in 2 or 3 weeks I can come film with you. And everybody said yes. And it was crazy. When I got home on November 29th, I looked at all of my invoices and everything. I made almost the same exact amount of money that I made in October when I was actually home. So it just goes to show that if you want something bad enough, you'll find a way to do it.
I love that.
And just don't make any excuses.
And I think taking a sabbatical in life is really important. I know for some of us or some of you are working, and that means a vacation. You have to figure out if you can take off from work and you're like taking a sabbatical. But I think that's one thing awesome about entrepreneurship. I guess we understand there's business we got to take care of, but because we are the owner, that we can't have that freedom, even if it means we have to come back and work hard to make up for that.
Yeah, and you said that you sold your practice this was just a year ago, right?
Yes.
And this was to get to fully dedicate yourself to working on Relaunch. So I think that that's a perfect example of if you want something bad enough, you won't make excuses and you'll do what you have to do to get there.
Indeed. And I give myself lots of excuses. I complained. I blame everything else. I waited. I mean, I done everything I could to resist that change because I was extremely successful. I had things that a lot of dentists don't even have. But I knew to get to where I want to be and to have that true freedom to use some gifts that I never able to use before. There are changes. There's nobody gonna come rescue me. I have to make those changes myself.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking back now, because it's been a little over a year, what do you think about the decision that you made to sell your practice and to work on Relaunch? I mean, was it completely worth it? What sort of new freedoms have you gotten because of that?
Well, it's completely worth it because, I mean, I was in online business helping my husband on the side when I was practicing full time. But to allow myself, give myself this permission to actually devote more time. This past year, I have grown professionally and personally in every single way. This past year possibly is the most I learned about myself, about my capabilities, compared to many years before combined. So I think for me to understand where my next step is, I have even more clarity, even more tools. So if I didn't take that action, I just stayed where I was, I would still be making baby steps. Who knows? My mindset will still be the same. I mean, taking massive action is one way to find our clarity, because one thing I feel like so many people, it's like, I don't have this clarity. I mean, is this going to work? Is this the only way to find that is take big action, because you're going to find one way or another if one thing's for you or not.
Yeah, and it's great to look back at how far you've come since then and all the exciting things that get to happen now because you took massive action. And I think that the big change comes out of the big decisions. It's not really the baby steps. In a sense, it's kind of like gambling because you have to bet a lot of money to make a lot of money. And I think that's kind of how life goes, is that you have to take a really big risk if you want a big reward. And so to round this all up, let me ask you, what do you think, with everything that you know now, with all the challenges that you've overcome, with running a business for 10 years and ultimately selling it. What do you think is the number one thing that you could pass down to someone in my age group that you'd like for them to know, whether it's about life or in business?
Well, if I have to say one thing, and that was one of my biggest struggle, and I'm still working through that, will be not take full personal responsibility. Let me just explain. Is the stories we heard on our show, the top performers, and if they have gone through something, either quit their corporate job or transition into a much bigger part of their life, it has always been the moment they realize, you know what, this is up to me. There was a mom, she has 5 kids, and she tried to work her marriage, but when she was on a verge of divorce, her therapist told her that, just so you know, you are not able to depend on your husband for anything. Moments of truth sometimes awaken great potentials in us. And if we feel like, because I used to complain, this has to happen till, and then whatever needs to happen, it was out of my control. So when you complain, something has to happen for you to be able to do something. You give your power away. And I did. And I was in that stage for a long time, not knowing I give my power away. And till the day I say, you know what? I think I shared a little bit earlier too. It's up to me to make this happen. And it's amazing. Ideas start to come to you once you take that responsibility. So that will be something I definitely would think hard on.
That's great advice for everyone listening in today. I want to give them what is the best website for them to learn more about the Relaunch podcast and to learn more about your show and to find out about you?
Thank you for asking. Relaunchshow.com is the easiest way to get hold of us.
Perfect.
And
it's available on iTunes, right?
Yeah. I think with all the podcasts these days, it's iTunes, Stitcher, all those places.
Perfect.
But thank you. I mean, I love those questions. You are one of the few hosts actually really dig deep and just follow through with some extremely important questions. You don't just stay on the surface. And as young as you are, I'm very impressed.
Thank you for that feedback. It really helps me because I think that, I'm on this journey too. So for everyone listening, I'm 25, I turned 26 this summer, and I'm no different than anyone else. The one thing I say is that I just started asking better questions.
Well said. You want better answers? Start asking better questions.
Exactly. And I think that's the best way to wrap up this episode. So to sum it all up, if you want better answers, start asking better questions. And with that, Dr. Pei, has been great to speak with you, and I can't wait to talk to you again sometime on the Year of Purpose podcast.
Thank you again.
You've probably heard me talk about designing a life that you actually want to live. You might have even heard about my travels or experiences and thought to yourself, yeah, I do want to do that. Eventually, someday I'll probably do it. And my guess is that you've been thinking about doing it for a long time. So I want to tell you this. Stop thinking. Your time is right now. You don't need any more time. You don't need any more info. You don't need to keep putting it off and planning for the perfect time, because the truth of the matter is this. You could be the person who sits around and thinks about living a better life, or you can be the person that decides that today is the day that you're going to actually do it, and I want that for you. Because you already have what it takes. You've got a fire inside. Even if you can't see it right now, it's lit, but you need to open yourself up to the possibilities and throw a couple logs into the flames. So join me and the Year of Purpose tribe by subscribing to our YouTube channel and iTunes podcast. And if you really like us, please leave a review. This is Zephan Moses Blacksburg, and I can't wait to see you again on the Year of Purpose podcast.